अच्छा जी, लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द कोर्स। सबसे पहले जो हमारी चीज़ें कोर्स के अंदर जो बहुत मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ है, मैं नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स सब तकरीबन सब लोगों को बता चुका हूँ कि हिस्ट्री ऑफ लिटरेचर जो है वो हमारा प्राइमरी सोर्स होगा प्रेपरेशन का। और इसलिए प्राइमरी होगा, ये भी मुझे किसी का मैसेज आया कि उनको आवाज़ नहीं आ रही। ये जो है ना, मेरा ख्याल है आप लोग शायद जिसको आवाज़ नहीं आ रही वो उन्होंने अपना कोई या तो हैंड्स फ्री, क्योंकि ये एक मुझे नज़र आ रही हैं और इन्होंने माइक भी साथ नहीं आ रहा है, लेकिन उनकी इतनी ऑडियो कनेक्टेड नहीं है। तो शायद जब आपसे पूछ रहा होता है ना ज्वाइन विद ऑडियो, तो वो करना चाहिए। इन्होंने पता नहीं क्यों नहीं किया। अब मैं ज़रा 1 मिनट ज़रा मैं इनका इशू एक रिजॉल्व कर दूँ। ये दो लोग जिनको आवाज़ नहीं आ रही, इनका मेरे सामने जो शो हो रहा है डिस्प्ले, इसमें इनका माइक शो नहीं हो रहा। ठीक है, विच मीन्स के इन्होंने जब ज्वाइन किया है उस वक्त इन्होंने अलाउ कंप्यूटर ऑडियो या अलाउ मोबाइल ऑडियो या वगैरह कोई ऐसी ऑप्शन जो है वो सही तरीके से यूज़ नहीं की, जिसकी वजह से इनको आवाज़ नहीं आ रही। तो बहरहाल आप लोग रिकनेक्ट करके इनको मैं यहाँ पे एक मिनट में चैट में इनका लिख दूँ, ताकि फिर ये सब लोग ही जो जिसमें करना हो। अब ये शायद चलें। इनका आ रहा वो उसे देख लेंगे दोबारा। ये एक का मेरे पास सुनाया है। अच्छा है, अब कोर्स की तरफ मैं जा रहा हूँ। जिसको अब कोई इशू आ रहा है वो बाद में रिकॉर्डिंग या तो सुन लें। ये आप लोगों को ऐप्स जो है वो अगर आपको यूज़ नहीं करते तो उसको पहले से आपको करना चाहिए था, एक दफ़ा अपने आप को यूज़ टू कर लेना चाहिए था, ताकि ऐसा कोई इशू ना होता। अब आप क्लास के बाद मैं आपको बता दूंगा कि आपके इशू थे और किस तरह इसको ठीक किया जा सकता है। अच्छा खैर, तो कोर्स के अंदर मैंने आपको हमेशा से मैं यही कहता रहा हूँ कि वीडियो मैंने इसलिए ऑफ की है क्योंकि इंटरनेट जो है वो फिर काफ़ी स्पीड उस तरफ चली जाती है। तो कोर्स कंटेंट की तरफ जो हम बात करते हैं, तो सबसे पहली बात दोबारा मैं तीसरी दफ़ा वही बात करे जा रहा हूँ कि history of literature is the most important thing, or why it is most important, because 80% of the paper is from history of literature from various angles. From various angles, when I say from various angles, it means that some portions are related purely to history of England, some not properly history of England, but ages, the literary ages, which we also recognize as literary ages. These are the things which are asked in the paper. And secondly, the representative writers are given an ample space in the exam. And you are asked about Shakespeare and very many other writers who are not many people are familiar with, and that is the major reason that people fail the exam. And another major thing is that they, from the past two exam experiences, they are asking about the themes or the protagonist or the antagonist of the major works of major writers. For example, they can ask you who is the protagonist in the drama Othello by William Shakespeare, and a few options are there. So basically, this is to test that people have well-grounded knowledge, or they have just skimmed through their MA, and now they are hoping to get a teaching job. So this is the main purpose, and that's why they ask you a lot of questions about literature, and then there are the remaining 20% or 21 or 22% are given to linguistics and general knowledge. And linguistics, when I say linguistics, it does not mean that linguistics is very uh, intensively asked. They are just journal questions about linguistics, which means that if you have a simple know-how of what linguistics is and what are the dynamics and what are the topics which are mostly discussed and the basic concepts of the linguistic subject, then it is very easy for you. And as far as general knowledge is concerned, they ask you about Pakistan affairs and, for example, the name of the governor of State Bank or such questions. And secondly, they also ask questions from Urdu literature or from Islamiyat. One or two questions can be from Islamiyat, and three, four questions can be from Urdu literature. And Urdu literature is not asked very intensively, but the major writers like or the most popular works, actually, the most popular works are given much space in the exam. So this is the exam distribution or the paper distribution, and the most important thing in attempting the paper is that they do negative marking. If you make three wrong choices, then one of your marks is deducted, and they can change this. Maybe this year they say that if you make two wrong choices, then one mark is deducted, and maybe they say that no negative marking this year. But still, you have to keep this in mind, and the proper thing, the proper way to attempt the exam is just to do what you know and leave off what you don't know. If you attempt 60 questions and you know for sure that these are the correct answers, then you are going to get through. And if you put 70 correct questions and then you do 30 uh, just out of imagination, then maybe it will adversely affect your marks, and you'll fall below 50. And falling below 50 means that you are unqualified for the test, or unqualified for the interview, sorry. So these are the few things which you need to focus. And now I am coming to the style of preparation or the methodology which I have designed for this course. Why I have chosen history of literature and in the first place, and why I'm doing not the MCQ thing, but I'm doing the actual lectures. And after that, you will be asked MCQ questions, and when the session is about to finish, I mean, after a month or so, you will be asked to solve the questions which I will give you. So many participants do the wrong choice of preparation, or make a mistaken choice when they're preparing, that they take out books of MCQs and then they start cramming through them, sometimes learning them and sometimes reading them again and again. But this will never give you the grounded knowledge which you require for any test. And even if you pass through this test, you are not going to understand what literature is, what are the dynamics of literature, and why literature of one age is so different from the literature of another age. And this is very important when it comes to teaching. And also, it becomes very important when it comes to the interview, because the interviewers, they know it, that some of the people were grammars, and that's why they ask questions which are fairly grounded in literature of various ages. And don't think that some people do think that they are some people do think that if they prepare modern writers, then they can trick the interviewers, which is not the case. The interviewers are not kids. They are well experienced in literature, and they are avid readers, and they know what they are asking, and they know what you are talking about. So take this out of your mind, that you can fox them or you can outsmart them. So uh, this being said, let's go to the history of literature, which I have prepared, or which the way the way I'm going to uh, walk you through to the from the history of literature. And when I say walk you through, uh, I mean that I'm going to discuss every age in its detailed aspects, and then its writers. So, first of all, uh, it is very important that you understand how literature and how English, especially how England came into existence, and what happened to the Anglo-Saxons, and what are the uh, Normans, and who are the Anglos, and who are the Saxons, and how English literature came into being. And this portion is much neglected in some of the books, and by some of the instructors, because they think that there are not many questions which are being asked from these things. Yes, it is true that there are not many questions which can be asked from these periods, from the Middle English period or from the medieval period, but still it is very important to understand the beginnings of the language and the beginnings of the literature, in order to compare and contrast when we are further ahead in the ages like Elizabethan age, or in Augustan age, or in Romantic age. So right in the beginning, England, as you all know, is an island. And if you imagine the ancient world, uh, not the world after the death of Christ, or as they say, AD. I'm not talking about the Anno Domini years. I'm talking about the before Christ years, and ancient history. In ancient history, England was just an island, and the neighboring countries of England are Germany and France. There is a North Sea, and which is in the northern part of England, and it all flows all the way to Ireland, and then Scotland, and then Ireland, and then covers it up from the French side. So there are two major nations there, French and German. So French and German, they were uh, major civilizations at that time. And there was an other major nation, which you might have, if you are interested in movies and seasons, then you must have known Thor, which is a major character in one of the seasons. And these characters, actually, these are from the Norway, the Scandinavian countries. The Scandinavian countries include Norway, and Finland, and all those neighboring countries. So uh, I think this should be explained in more detail in Urdu, because it is very important. I don't want to skip any. I don't want you to skip anything out of this. So I'll be switching, code switching. The Germans and the French, they were barbarian nations in the beginning. They were fighters, they were warriors, because in those days if one nation is not a warrior nation, then it is going to lose. And losing the ground means that losing everything. So that was the major reason that each and every nation used to have warriors. And I hope that you have heard the name of Vikings. Vikings were the fighters from the barbaric fighters from Norway. They had their gods and the wooden gods and different. They had different names, and the Vikings, they were heathen people. There was no religion at that time, not in France and not in Germany. And Germany was basically three major tribes. And three major tribes of Germany were one tribe was Angles, one was Saxon, and one tribe was Jutland, Jute. Sorry, and Jute belonged to Jutland, where Jutland is a part of Netherlands these days. And if you remember Shimasini's poem, The Tolland Man, that the Tolland Man is set in the Jutland. Uh, okay, I have a message. Some words are not clearly audible. I don't know what is happening, but if it happens again, I can switch on the headphones. Okay. So where I was. Huh. There were three major tribes, Angles, Saxons, and Jute. These three tribes were in the ancient Germany. The ancient Germany included Netherlands. And these three tribes, time and again, attacked England, which was not, at that time, it was not England, it was just an island. And they used to attack it and push the population over there to the inner sides and then use their resources. And these tribes settled over there. And when these tribes settled over there, one of these three tribes was a very populated one. And that's why they gained control. They gained more control than the Jutes and the Saxons. And they were called Angles. And that is why the name England is come. It was Angleland, then it was England, as you speak in the Old English, and then it became England, the modern day England. So this was the part. And when I say England, I'm excluding Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, and also the Isle of Man. Isle of Man is a British island, but it is a bit far from. It is between Ireland and England, and Scotland is connected to England. So you need to, if you need to have to see a map, I can put it on the screen so you can be able to understand this. Just let me see if I can put a map over here. So now you are seeing a map on the screens, I think. And here you can see that Angles and the Saxons, they are in Germany. And then the Danes, which are the Netherlands people. And this is Jutland. And from here, Jutes, the Saxons and the Angles. These three people or these three tribes, they used to attack England. And this is the area which is the Old England. The Ireland, this is Ireland on the very left, and then you see Wales, and then you can see Scotland ahead of Ireland, and there is Isle of Man, but it is not in this map. So if you look at this map, you will see there are few states or few cities which are mentioned. These are cities today: Sussex, Kent, Canterbury, London. These are cities, but in the ancient times they were just like tribal areas, and there were 7 tribal areas in total in England. One was Northumbria. Northumbria is the northern England, which where York is located, and also the Newcastle, and Manchester. All these cities are there in the Northumbria. And then you have Wales, and which is the area of Cardiff and all the neighboring cities, and then Sussex and Kent. These are the counties today, and uh, they are cities in their own rights. But in the ancient times, these were the uh, uh, separate lands. And uh, if you look at the map and where this is, the Jutes is written. Let me just mark it. This is the place. And here, this is France. I think I should use arrows. Yes. This is France. This is ancient Germany. And Jutland is included in there. And here you see Sweden and Norway and all those areas. Okay, so this is England right here. And people from these three areas raided England, and they enjoyed the wealth and the resources of the English people. And later on, the Romans, who conquered the whole of Europe, actually, they also conquered England. And they set their colony, or they set their base camp in Northumbria, which is actually in the city of York. And the city of York was never conquered by other nations. And there you can see the Vikings. Vikings attacked that area too, but it was safe because the Romans were the superpowers in those days. And as you know, that when Islam flourished, the major power, or the major exponential power in Europe, was Rome. And the Romans, they were very powerful in terms of economy, and also in terms of physical strength, and that's why the military strength, I mean, and that and they were unconquerable by all the other people. So first of all, the first nation which came to conquer England was the Angles. And first of all, it was the Romans in the before Christ time. It was around 300 BC or 400 BC that Rome was in charge of the whole area. And then later on, gradually the power of Rome began to decline, and it gave way to the Anglo-Saxons. The Anglo-Saxons were the people from Germany and from the Viking races of Jutland and all the areas. So these two nations, or this one nation, I would say one nation, because in ancient Germany it was one. So these people from Germany, they attacked, and the Roman Empire was weakening gradually. And why it was weakening gradually? Because it was losing its areas, and those areas which were connected to the Muslim lands. And now I'm talking about 600s and 570, and then 600s and 650s. And it was a time when Roman Empire collapsed, and because Rome was conquered, and Romans were defeated in the time of Prophet ﷺ too. And then the Anglo-Saxons took control, and after the Anglo-Saxons, in 11th century, the French people, and it is very interesting to note that French were not the original people who attacked the English shores. These peoples were actually the Vikings. The Vikings, when they attacked France in three 3 centuries ago, or two or 3 centuries ago, before that time, and when they attacked France, the King of France was very simple one, and he wanted peace, and he did not want fight. So he gave them the northern area of France, the land of France, and he asked them to settle there. He asked the Vikings to settle there, and in order to avoid, he did this in order to avoid the future raids of Vikings. So he saved his own country by allowing a part of France to, by giving the part of France to the Vikings. It is modern day Normandy. It is an area of France, and the Normandy area. When the Vikings they came there, they were called the Norsemen. Norsemen is actually a term given to the which it is a word from Norwegian language, which means the pirates or the raiders. And the Vikings were called the Norsemen. And when they were given the northern area of Normandy, they became both of these words came together and became Normans. And the Normans, they were not actually not purely Vikings and not purely French. They were the mingled race of French and the Vikings, and they had the fighting ability of the Vikings, and they had the literary sensibility and imaginative sensibility of the French. So they were very intelligent people. And when they attacked in 11th century, they conquered the whole of England, and they threw the Anglo-Saxons out of their area, and they were all destroyed. Their whole tribe was destroyed from England, and they established their own headquarters there. And from then on, the English literature began to move in a different direction. So these 2 points are very important because they lay the very foundation of England. And when the Anglo-Saxons were in control, they focused a bit on education and also on monastic things. And they established monasteries. They established when I showed you a map in Northumbria, there is a shore called Whitby, and they established a monastery there, which is called the Whitby Abbey, and that abbey still exists today, but it is just shambles. It is nothing but just a mark. And if you Google it, you can find very good images of the Whitby Abbey. And it was built high up on the mountain in order to avoid any attack from the shores. And that's why you can see that they were very concerned about the schooling of the people. And the most of the schooling, because it was the time when the Christians from Rome, they were roaming the land of England. And I think all of you know the name of Saint Augustine and Saint Benedict and all the saints. If you have read Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, then you must know all the names of these saints. And these were the saints who were responsible for the maintenance of these abbeys and the maintenance of these schools. And they were the ones who established religion in England. And then when Normans came, they were not converted to Christianity because the Christian missionaries were also in France and also in Germany, and Christianity was spreading far and wide. And this is clearly the time when the Crusades began. And Crusades, if you know, that is the battle between the Muslims and the Christians of the whole Europe. And at that time, Christians were in charge of the whole Europe, and they were very and you can understand the fighting ability of the Vikings. And these Vikings and all these fighters, they were defeated by the Muslim Berbers, the Spanish tribe, the Spanish people, the African tribes of the Muslims, and also the people from Ethiopia, the Muslim fighters from Ethiopia, and all these, the Muslims actually defeated all these tribes, and the Turks especially, because if you know Sultan Salam bin Ayyubi was a Turk, he was a Kurd who was trained in the times of the Turks when Ottoman Empire was in its peak. And it is interesting to note that when Europe was fighting for land, the Muslims were had already spread their land, and they had already spread their knowledge, and they had already translated major works of Greek and Greek language and also Latin language. And they were at that time there were a few philosophical sects of the Muslims, which you know as Mu'tazila, and all two or three more sects like these. They were, and at that time, Baghdad, and I'm just trying to connect you with the world history of that time. And Baghdad and Iraq and all these areas, they were very flourishing at that time. And it was really the time when Britain were the foundations of England were being laid. So I'd like to take a break here, and after the break, it will be a 5 to 10 minutes break, and I will just take tea. And after the break, when we come back, we will talk about purely about the Old English literature and also the medieval literature and the Middle Ages of English literature. There are just 3 or 4 writers, and I will give you a gist of the literature of that time, and I also give you the homework. That's what you are supposed to do. And the people who are having issues with